Okay, my friends, this is going to be a shocker. We are about to refund a whole batch of money or cancel a bunch of debts to students. But I say we should refund them the money because of academic fraud. Now, they just say, well, they've been paying for too long and they should have got some relief on their payments. But I say they should get relief because of academic fraud. And what is academic fraud and what is academic dishonesty? What responsibility do they have to the students? Do they have any responsibility at all? Can they lie to them and then take their money? And then if the students won't repeat those lies, they can fail them and destroy their lives? Is that what academia is about? Well, yes, it is. This is the way the academics look at academic dishonesty. They point towards the students as being cheaters. Academic dishonesty consists of many different categories of behavior as opposed to being a singular concept. They point to the students as being the frauds and cheaters and liars. I point to the institutions themselves as being the frauds. All right, here's what they say. They base their culture academic integrity on these 6 fundamental values: honesty, trust, respect, fairness, responsibility, and courage. None of that exists in the institutions that I have dealt with. None of that. 0 of that exists. So, what do they do to investigate academic fraud? Well, let's find out. It says academic fraud is a threat to the intellectual integrity on which the advancement of knowledge depends. Yes, absolutely. And here's what it consists of. Okay, my friends, so what is academic fraud? We have to define it, and it involves a deliberate effort to deceive. All right, a deliberate effort to deceive includes plagiarism, fabrication of data, misrepresentation of historical sources, tampering with evidence, selective suppression of unwanted or unacceptable results, and theft of ideas. So if I presented things to the top universities and they said, no, we would refuse to look at it, even though it was DNA tested and CAT scanned and had all of the scientific evidence to support it, and they refused to look at it, is that selective suppression? I would say it is. And what about theft of ideas? What if they wrote papers about my research a year after I concluded my research? Well, that happened to me, and it happened at Yale University. Okay, my friends, so this is some of my evidence right here. We have new species that nobody's ever seen before. I call them no-toes. They're feet from a creature that nobody's ever known before. They have springs inside, and we have a lot of these. This is where the tibia came down, the big bone. The fibula sits on the side, and the toes are built in. All right, it has a very similar architecture to a human foot. And like I say, we have a lot of those. This I tried to present to Yale. They said they'd have to have a CAT scan. We did. We took it to where they wanted a CAT scan at the University of Texas. That turned into an absolute nightmare. They refused to even engage anymore at all as soon as they had it. They saw what it was. This is a bone. Blood leaks out of these bones. And this is what's preserved in that great flood. This is a goose. And there's his feathers right on the top of his head. He died also in the great floodland like this. This is what I presented to Yale. I was dismissed and told to get lost and never come back. This was a lung from a human being. It's been CAT scanned, DNA tested. Blood literally running out of this thing. I drilled into here inside and got some really fresh blood out of here. And it was the people who did the DNA test said it was virtually like excellent quality DNA, like raw blood. And it is. It comes out of here almost just, well, let me show you something. They were all flat like this. This is because of the Great Flood. And now Yale agrees with that. Yeah, there was a Great Flood. Yeah, they perfectly preserved. But Roger has nothing to do with it. Well, Roger did have everything to do with it. And as far as I'm concerned, they took my work. And as far as I can see, could be plagiarism. I don't know. These are the DNA tests I had done. I had 3 of them done. And I took the samples out of the rocks, which were stabilized body parts. And I took it right out of the blood. I went right inside the blood. And as a matter of fact, look at this. This is what happened. This is a gigantic fingertip, huge. It's 3 feet long. This is what freaked out Yale and all the rest of them. It still has a fingernail on there. You see it? It has this little pad on the back which bumps at the next bone and the blood supplies. Not only does it have the fingernail, it has the fingerprints. This was the piece I broke off so I could get down into where the blood is. These are the fingerprints. These are the sweat pores. Those are the finger ridges. My thumb is the size of one of those ridges. This is a huge, huge creature. And again, this was DNA tested, and it said excellent quality DNA. Excellent quality. And I had the other ones CAT scan. Here's a fingertip. From the back of the fingertip, that's the tendon, and that's the other side of the tendon. It goes up so you can do all that stuff. This side is the artery side, which is the red blood, and it just drains right out. This is the black blood, different. That's the vein side. This is the bone, and this was a thumb. And the reason I know it's a thumb, and I know it's a right-hand thumb, is because there's a hangover there. It's the only bone, only finger that doesn't go straight down the middle. You have a bump on the side. You see? This side's flat. This side's got a bump hanging off. And that's what this is. This is a right-hand thumb. And this, of course, was DNA tested and CAT scanned and everything else. And this was another shot of the CAT scan. This is a surface CAT scan. And I had the deep CAT scans done, too. This is where the fingernail was. You can't really see these things without doing the CAT scans. You can't really. And even the CAT scans aren't superb because there's a nucleophilic substitution. This was that bone I said, it was offset. That's the bone. All right, you can see it shadowed, but nucleophilic substitution says that everything that was inside the creature's body is converted to whatever flows through it. Now, there's going to be membranes and there's going to be some tiny little bits of changes that you can see, and especially in the CAT scans you can see them. But just looking at it, it looks like a rock. I agree with that. I'm not disputing that whatsoever. Plus, we've started our own, we're going to make our own library of everything. Everything has to be changed. Even light. Even light. This is what they showed from Fermilab, these two particles. Again, refuse to engage. Absolutely refuse. I showed them. I said, we found them. We use light. You guys are using protons, smashing huge things. We use light so we can see them very clearly. They would not allow it to be seen. And this is fission and fusion. That's where the particles come apart. That's where they come back together. Fission, fusion. We should be able to use this to make free energy. They were patched together. That's what light is. This is light accelerating, not allowed to be seen because it blows everything out of the water that they're saying. So we are just living with a whole slew of frauds as far as I'm concerned. They don't care for the truth. This shows that the black particles, which are the bosons, push the white particles ahead. Now, if they won't examine and engage, is that their responsibility? I don't know. I don't know. Can they just get away with that when the stuff is presented to them and they say, no, we won't look at it? This is what they say, all of these particles. No, these are the only two particles. This is the white one, that's the black one. And that's the only two particles there is, and everything is made up of those. And that, virtually, I'm proving it. Right? They show a big particle zoo because they're smashing big, huge things together, and they get all this garbage, literal garbage. This is a photon, and the photon is made out of the muon electron neutrino. I'm deep into this, and I can prove this very, very clearly. That's it. That's light. Now, so again, until this stuff is looked at and examined, I say we have people that don't care about the truth. I wrote this book because I was so upset. This was in 2015. This is just before Yale finally wrote their paper saying that they discovered my mud fossils. This was my work. Is that plagiarism? I would have to look at it in that realm. Somebody should think about it. Because I presented all this stuff to Yale before they took credit for it. I don't know how you look at that. And the same thing with the physics of photon. These are electron showers. You see this? This is not my words. Electron neutrino is the white ball turns into electron shower. You see it? Electron shower. The black ball, the muon, just keeps going on its own to the black ball. It's exactly what we showed. Right here. Here's the particles. And those are the same particles at Fermilab and all the rest of them. They know about them. They just don't have any clue where they came from because they're just smashing huge things together and they just get a bunch of debris. I'm creating electron showers. You want to see what electron showers can do? This is what electron showers can do. They can't do this. They have to use protons. We're starting right out here with the electron neutrinos, getting 100 giga electron volts to a few trillion electron volts. We shouldn't use more than a couple of million electron volts to get started. So we should be able to get free energy. And here's what I'm asking for. And again, refused, not even allowed to be seen. Nobody will discuss it. If we can get free energy like this, we should be able to carry this around in a lunchbox. All it's going to do is increase the energy value by creating electron showers, precisely what this says. If you can create electron showers, you can get this kind of energy. And that's the kind of energy we are possibly going to be able to get by using the device I just showed. Very simple. And you should be able to carry it around in a little box, something similar to like this. Now, are we being taken care of correctly by the academics and our physicists and all that? No, we are not. Not by a long shot, my friends. Until they will discuss this with me, I have no respect whatsoever. None. Zero. For any of our physicists, geologists, academics in every realm. Now, if they teach you how to program or how to build a road or a building or something like that, that's a whole different issue. That is material science. What we're dealing with here is just nothing more than guesses and fraud. I have the real evidence, and the rest is just convoluted nonsense to make you go back to them and never be able to allow you to see reality, because that destroys their fraudulent reality. That's my statements. Now, somebody wants to confront me and say, Roger, you're wrong, and here's why, and we'll sit down and talk. Yes, I'd love that. Not to sit down and talk is nothing but hiding and fiduciary failure by the ones we trusted and paid to become educated. And it's worked exactly opposite. You've been paid to become what's called menticide. Menticide means, well, here's what it means. Here's what it means right here. Systematic effort to undermine and destroy a person's values and beliefs. Not only that, you can't even talk about religion or anything like that, God or Jesus or any of that stuff in school. They just throw you right out, and they'll destroy your life for talking about that kind of stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, I see everything now in a whole different light. I was never in that realm before, but I tell you, I am deep in it now, because everything I have found points to the ancient texts being very, very accurate, and into accuracy that is just unbelievable. My giants, I thought, were just over the top. I mean, I have a giant here. It's got the 3-foot-long fingertip. That's 160 feet or more tall. Well, that is nothing, my friends. That is a puppy. Now, I am not skilled at legal matters, but I just read that plagiarism is fraud. Now, I submitted all my stuff to Derek Briggs at Yale, and it was about exceptionally preserved soft-bodied creatures from silica-rich oceans. That's exactly what I presented to him. And that was from 2012 to about 2015, and they just cut me off, and then he wrote this paper 2016. Is that plagiarism? I don't know. What do you think? He's saying that these exceptional preservation of soft-bodied creatures promoted by silica-rich oceans. Exactly what I said. And I presented these, like I said, and I did everything that they said I would have to do. They said, oh, you can't just show these things, they're just rocks. I said, no, I'll get them DNA tested, I'll get them CAT scanned. Well, if you did that, that'd be different. I did. No difference. No difference whatsoever. I had them CAT scanned. I had them DNA tested. I did the chemistry. I figured out the nucleophilic substitution, the membrane, how those fit into this whole thing, because they are the things that preserved it. And I understand now the process. They don't understand it. They say it consists of exceptionally preserved bodies. Many of the fossils are perfectly preserved, but they don't know how it happened. Yet how the fossils are preserved remains controversial. I have evidence to show precisely how it happened. And I have the fossils, and they refuse to examine them, still to this very day. Now, is that academic fraud? I don't know. That's what I'd like to have the Biden administration look into, because I see these people, Yale specifically, Harvard, all of them. I went to all of them virtually to try to get my information out, and they all came up with the same thing, that I was insane, and they refused to engage, absolutely refused. So, are the students being taken care of the way they should be? Is that a fiduciary failure? I see it as a fiduciary failure. All right, they are in 100% control of the students, and they have to act in their best interest. Is it the best interest for the students, or is it in their best interest to say, we are the ones, we're the geniuses, and and they still won't even talk about this now. It's just sort of hidden under the radar now, because this is my work. This is exactly the work that I did. And then Derek Briggs at Yale and his cohorts at Yale and some other places have taken credit for my work. Is that plagiarism? I don't know. I don't see that. I see the students are being very, very poorly served. In addition to that, Yale says there is no way that anybody can understand physics, quantum physics. And I've presented them with my quantum physics work, which is undeniable as well. And they wouldn't look at that either. So why are we paying these people? All they are doing is repeating something that somebody told them to tell you. And if you don't repeat exactly the way they told it to you, they will fail you and keep your money. So I say we make Yale and the rest of them pay the money back to the students, not the taxpayers. Taxpayers have nothing to do with this fraud. If it is fraud, if it is plagiarism, if it is fiduciary failure. And I see all of those things, but I mean, that's just me. That's my opinion. Now, I would like to have Derek Briggs confront me, and he refuses, and has told me, Mr. Spur, go find a geologist, which is he is supposed to be. It's just disgraceful, absolute disgrace. And I think the Biden administration should go after these top universities. They're the ones that pay the money back, not us.